Hi, and welcome to the Amphibian Press podcast. Today I'm talking to paranormal romance author Carrie Pulkinen about her new series, Crescent City Werewolves. I was going to call them the Crescent City Werewolves, and. Okay, Crescent
Works.
City Wolf Pack.
Yes.
So, and the first one just came out last week. I'm not sure when I'm putting this up yet because I might be switching to weekly podcasts. Um, but one or two books might be out by the time you're listening to this. So, the first one, Werewolves Only, came out last week. How did that go?
it went great. Released on Tuesday, and everything's been running pretty smooth.
That's always exciting when a new book comes out.
Yeah, definitely. It's been
So
a
the
long time coming.
Yeah, it does. It feels like such a long time between the time that you think about this awesome idea and then like bringing it into the world.
Yeah, definitely.
So where did you get the idea for these books? I mean, werewolves are kind of, popular, but where did you get your idea for your wolves?
Well, for this book, I was in New Orleans because the whole series is set in New Orleans, and I had happened upon a little bar in the French Quarter with my husband, and we were just sitting at the bar, and I looked over at the door that leads to the kitchen, and there was a sign on it that's just a piece of cardboard written on black Sharpie, and it said "Employees and Werewolves Only," and that kind of made me chuckle. So I started talking to the bartender, asking what the story was with that. And he said that the customers joked that the owner of the bar looked like a wolf man because he had a beard and, hairy arms and stuff. And so that just kind of got the gears turning. And I started thinking, well, what if he really was a werewolf? What if this bar was the home base for the whole werewolf pack? And this is where the alpha ran everything from. And so then just the ideas started kind of flooding from there. And it was one of those moments where I knew I had to write it down because I book. And so I got a napkin and a pen from the bartender, and I sat there for the next like half hour or so, just kind of fleshing out all my ideas to try and figure it out. And to get home, when I got home from my little trip, I started writing.
Nice. I love that. I want to go to New Orleans so bad. It's like on my bucket list forever.
It's probably my favorite city in the world, and I've been to a lot of places, but I mean, living in Houston, it's like a 6 hour drive, and so we go there several times a year, and I love it there.
Oh, I want to go so bad. Yeah, I read Sherilyn Kenyon's Dark Hunter series when I
Mm-hmm.
was in high school, and I've wanted to go ever since. And I actually got accepted to Loyola to major in fine art, but then I didn't end up being able to go. So I
Oh,
still haven't made it.
well, it's worth it, even if it's just for a weekend trip. It's so much fun.
Yeah, well, there's this writer's retreat. It's like the writer's retreat on a train, and they go from Chicago to New Orleans, and I want
Oh,
to
really?
go so bad.
Wow, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I got accepted to apply this year, but I just didn't have the money because I went to Nashville earlier this year, which had pretty much used up all my travel funds.
Yeah,
Um,
rad.
but maybe next year. um, so, Werewolves Only, who are the main characters in that?
The main characters are Luke and Macy, and Luke is the son of the alpha of the Crescent City Wolf Pack, and he is set to become alpha as soon as his dad retires. And I think the timeline in that book is he has about a month. But the problem is that he has to have a mate in order to become alpha, and he has not found anyone yet. And in order to ensure the bloodline, the alpha bloodline, he can only mate with another werewolf. And then he really has a problem when he meets Macy, who is a New Orleans detective, and she has some psychic abilities to kind of read spirit energy in objects. And she is working on a case that she doesn't know she is hunting demons. He's supposed to be making sure she never finds out that she's hunting demons, but then a little he happens to fall in love with her, and that kind of causes some problems for him because he's got to mate with werewolf. So, yeah, those are the main characters.
Oh, this book sounds right up my alley. Detectives and demons, like yes. um, so you did your spirit chasers, so you've done a lot with kind of like psychics and stuff like that. Are you just interested in them in general, or is there a specific reason that you're kind of drawn to this?
Well, I've always been kind of into ghost stories. I grew up literally next door to a cemetery, so death and everything surrounding it has always kind of fascinated me. And so I've done, when you're a kid and you go to seances and that kind of stuff, especially living by the cemetery. I was the house everybody wanted to do the seances at. So that's kind of where the interest came from. And when I wrote Spirit Chaser series, To Catch a Spirit, I had a psychic medium empath as the main character. And in order to research that, I got on Meetup and found some Houston area psychic development classes. And I actually started going to those classes and, just learning all about Reiki healing and psychic energy and empaths and all that kind of stuff. So I went through a little program with that in order to get to know it. And so now that I've done all that, that's kind of, even with my werewolf books, there's always going to be some kind of ghosts or some kind of psychic in the book, because that's really, it's really interesting for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. Um, I'm kind of in a similar boat as far as I don't like to just have one paranormal or supernatural thing in my books. I like to make it multiple.
Yeah.
I think it makes it, I mean, it sounds silly to say makes it more realistic, but I think it does.
Because if werewolves exist, why not witches? Why not demons? If there's one, there's got to be others, right?
Right. So for your books, for the werewolves, do they turn into actual wolves, or do they turn into like the creepy human hybrid things?
No, they're full blown wolves.
Yeah.
They aren't the moon doesn't control them, it influences them, but it's not like every time there's a full moon they have to turn into a wolf and they go on a killing rampage or anything like that. They're still in control. They can shift on command, and it's like that's their weapons, is their teeth and their claws. And so they're kind of like the supernatural police force for New Orleans in this series.
That's so cool. um so oh gosh, there's so many questions. How did you do your demons?
The demons in Werewolves Only are actually being summoned by a half demon he's trying to build an army to, kind of take over the supernatural area of the city. And so he performs kind of like a blood ritual and summons them, and they take on a solid form, which makes them able to be killed. But the werewolf has to pierce the heart with the claw, or they have to be decapitated in order to vanquish them back to their little hellish realm where they came from.
So they do just go back to hell. They're not like defeated forever.
No, because they're not. I mean, they have a physical body when they're there, but once they lose that, they go back until somebody else comes along and summons them.
Yeah, see, these are so cool because everybody can do things so differently with them. I love it. It's so exciting. All right, so Luke and Macy are in Werewolves Only, and the next book, Beneath a Blue Moon, is supposed to come out in September.
Yes, it comes out on September 18th. And that one stars Luke's, he becomes his second in command, and his name is Chase. And he is the bartender at the bar. That's their home base. It's called O'Malley's Pub in the book. And then the heroine, her name is Rain, and she is a cursed witch who has no magical powers. And so she's trying to get her magic back. And he can help her, but it might just cost him his life if he does. So,
Love it. Love it. The parallels between the stuff that we're working on right now is crazy. I have a witch named Rain, and she has her powers, but yeah.
Does she
Um,
have a sister named Snow?
no, she has a sister named Mabel.
Because that would be weird.
Yeah, that would be weird. Um, but so that's exciting. Okay. So how did you do your witches?
um, well, the witches kind of have their own entity. They have their coven, and they have it in a house in New Orleans. So they're kind of like run parallel with the werewolves. They don't necessarily work together unless they have to. And there's a little bit of friction between the coven and the werewolf pack. Just not really a power struggle, but just some kind of attitudes and stuff. And the witches themselves, they can cast spells, but they also have specific powers that they can do, maybe that other witches can't do, and different levels of magic. Like Snow can freeze things. She has that kind of power. So Rain has no power, but you can imagine what it ends up being. If she gets it back.
Yeah. Um, so for this book, was it kind of one of those things where you're writing werewolves only and these characters kind of popped in and you're like, ooh, I'm going to write a book for them? Is that kind of how you got?
Yeah, it was, because the secondary characters in Werewolves Only, they just kind of blossomed and had their own personalities, and I just felt like, they needed their own books. And for book two, actually book three was supposed to be book two, but I started writing it, and the hero is Bryce, who is Macy's detective partner. So he's also a human, and he's skeptic, no idea anything paranormal exists, doesn't want to know anything paranormal exists. And as I started writing his book, I felt like it was too soon for him to fall in love with a werewolf because he wouldn't accept it. So book two happens in between so that he has some more time to acclimate to the fact that magic is real and it's in his world. Yeah.
Nice. Um, so for Beneath the Blue Moon, which would be the second book, what's the main conflict? Is it just getting her powers back, or is there?
Well, there is an antagonist who has come to New Orleans, and he is trying to get revenge. And witches are ending up dead. They discovered that he's an energy vampire, not the blood-sucking kind, but he drains people's energy, their life force, and if they're a magical being, he can drain their magic and take on their magical powers. And so he is come to the city seeking revenge, but the bodies are piling up, and it's all pointing to Rain as being the energy vampire because he's a witch with no magic. So the coven is assuming that she's the one who is draining the powers. So it's a matter of not just finding and stopping the person who's doing it, but convincing the coven that it's not Rain and that she should not be executed for the crimes.
I love it. I'm gonna buy this book. Like, okay. I'm sad that I couldn't read it before this interview, but it's actually a little bit easier because I just did an interview with Sherilyn Kenyon, and I've read almost all of her books, so it was really hard not to do spoilers. Like, just me. Like, there was one thing that I said, and she's like, ooh, that's a spoiler. I'm like, do you want me to cut it out? Or she's like, nah, it's fine. I'm like, okay, good. So, yeah. Sometimes it does help not spoil things. So the last book, let's talk about Bryce and the werewolf that he ends up with.
Okay, so he is going to end up with Alexis, and she makes her first appearance in book one. And she's a rogue, so she doesn't belong to any pack. She just shows up and kind of causes a little bit of trouble in book one, and then towards the end, we find out exactly who she is and why she's there. And she also, both Bryce and Alexis are in book two also. They have a few scenes. So then book three picks up right where book 2 leaves off with Bryce and Alexis. And he is, like I said, he was a detective. He's gotten a promotion. Now he's a sergeant, and he is a negotiator. He, deals with like talking people down when they're suicidal and that kind of stuff. So his job role has changed. He's doing some different stuff, and Alexis comes in and she gets herself into some trouble with an ex-boyfriend that she walks in on doing some highly illegal things that he should not be doing, and it turns into a little bit of a stalker situation. Her life's in danger, but she's got to keep Bryce from finding out about the werewolves, or his life's going to be in danger. But it turns out what he doesn't know actually can hurt him, and he's in danger no matter what. So that's kind of the plot of that one.
I love it. I love it. So that one comes out in October.
Yes, October 30th.
Oh, perfect. Just in time for Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have any more plans for the Crescent City Wolf Pack, or is it 3 and done?
No, I do. I have book 4 is currently kind of whirling around in my head at the moment. It got the basic plot kind of figured out. Now I'm trying to figure out the characters and their motivations. I know that the hero is going to be James, who is a werewolf from book 1, and the heroine is going to be a voodoo queen. So I've got to figure her out because she's going to be a brand new character. She hasn't been in any of the books before. So, and then hopefully book 5 is going to involve Luke, the alpha's sister. Her name's Amber, and she makes an appearance in all the books. So I hope is going to have book 5, but we're gonna see. I'm just gonna keep going until the ideas stop flowing.
Nice. So if I get hooked on book 1, there's going to be more coming, is what you're saying.
There are definitely 4. I've got book 3 is still with the editor, so I'm trying to tie up all the loose ends, get that one polished before I get started on book 4, so I can really focus on that.
It's always a good idea. It's hard to do that last step too.
Yeah, it is.
When you're ready to move on. Okay, so let's chat about your Spirit Chasers series, which you have 3 of those.
Yes.
And the first one is To Catch a Spirit, which is actually on my Kindle in my to be read list. Combination TBR and to be read. So let's talk about that one a little bit.
Okay, that one is actually set in Michigan, and the hero is Logan, and the heroine is Allison. And like I said before, she's a psychic medium. That's her job. She does Reiki healing. She does readings for people. She also works in an antique store, clearing the energy out of the furniture before it goes to auction.
Good idea.
And Logan is kind of like a billionaire bachelor. He's a playboy, won't settle down, but he has some secrets as to why he won't. He has like premonition dreams that his wife, whenever he does get married, is going to end up committing suicide. So he's trying to stay away from any kind of relationship with a woman, but he also struggles with obsessive compulsive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. So there's a lot going in real deep with him into his thought processes and what's going on with him and why he is so damaged. And then when he moves to Detroit, he gets this mansion that comes with a ghost. And so that's how he and Allison end up meeting, is she's on a paranormal investigation team, and she does the psychic work, connecting with the spirits. And so she's got to help him get rid of his ghost, but the ghost is trying to get rid of her because the ghost wants him all for herself. So
nice. I love that you included generalized anxiety disorder in a male character, because I know a lot of people think of anxiety as a strictly female problem, and it's so not. So yeah. I love that you did that. That's really cool, and I can't wait to read it. So the second one is To Stop a Shadow. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, that one takes the two best friends, Allison's best friend Tina and Luke's best friend Trent, and they kind of start to get together at the end of book one. There's some attraction there, but Tina puts the brakes on. It's not happening. So then when we go into book three, it's several months later. She hasn't seen Trent in those 3-4 months, however long it's been, and Trent's creepy, eccentric uncle, great uncle, dies and leaves him a Victorian mansion in Ann Arbor. And so Trent wants nothing to do with it. The guy was a creep. He just wants to get rid of it. So he calls up Tina, who happens to be the #1 realtor in the area, and asks her to sell the house for him. And so she, against her better judgment, takes the job and goes out, and so she starts spending some time with him, and then they start having trouble with the hauntings in the house that his weird uncle left him, and so they've got to battle those spirits. Trent has some medical issues that he's dealing with as well, that he doesn't want Tina to know about, and that kind of causes some problems between the two of them. But then they've got to get Allison and Logan's help, and so the four of them kind of go in and battle the thing that's haunting, the shadow that's haunting the mansion that Trent has inherited.
Nice. Your stories sound really cool. Like,
thank you.
Okay, and then To Free a Phantom.
Yes, that one is, the hero is Gage, and Gage is on the paranormal investigation team that Allison is on. So we meet him in book one, and then he also is the kind of the resident shadow demon expert in book two. So he's going to be in both of those, and he's an IT guy. He's a nerd, but he's good-looking nerd. And in book one, he kind of had a crush on Allison. So he, gets over that after she hooks up with Logan. And so in book three, finally, he's going to find his love, and he finds it in his old high school best friend, Erica. She has just moved back to Michigan from California, where she was trying to pursue an acting career that failed. And she's working in graphic design, but she's also doing a community theater that she picked up from her old community theater teacher. And there is a haunted mirror that she gets because the spirit that's haunting the mirror is an old Broadway star from the 1920s. And she, helps with the productions and stuff, but she ends up being a little bit more sinister than Erica knows. And Erica is a psychic medium too. She can talk to spirits, but she doesn't have the control that Allison has. It's more like a curse to her that she can see them, and she doesn't want to see them except for this one spirit. And so when Erica stops doing what the spirit in the mirror wants her to do, then that's when the problems come in, kind of Phantom of the Opera style.
Nice. So you also won the Lone Star Writing Contest. Do you want to talk about that?
That is the Northwest Houston Romance Writers of America chapter, their annual writing contest. I won that with a book at the moment is titled For the Love of Ghosts. It is yet unpublished. It's another ghost story set in New Orleans. So I have not decided yet if it's going to be in the same world as the Werewolves or if it's going to be completely separate, because it's done, but I'm just really into the Werewolves right now, trying to get more books in this series. And then I'll go back. And that one, I actually have 2 more books planned for that series. They're I've got the plot ideas, but I haven't started those. There just aren't enough of me or enough hours in the day to write everything that I want to write, because I am not short on ideas. I'm just short on time.
Tell me about it. Same problem. All right. So that's pretty cool, though, that you won a contest. Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, no. Stop.
Lag.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now I can.
Phew. Okay. So, but that's pretty cool that you won a contest.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, and To Catch a Spirit also is a Roan Award finalist right now with Indie Tale magazine. So that will be announced in October at their annual conference. So there's a chance that one could be too, at least a
That's
runner up.
Yeah, that's cool. Um, I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Um, all right, so where can people find you online?
I am everywhere. My website, carriepulkinen.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. All is my name, Carrie Pulkinen. And my books are available Amazon, iBooks, Nook, Kobo, Google Play, all of them.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you.